Alright guys, let's move on to leads. So all I did from the last video is shut off my major chord template and my minor chord template. And what I did was I went ahead and grabbed a simpler from instruments inside of Ableton. I went into my samples, I typed in steel, a steel drum sample came right up, dragged that into my simpler, and now we have the ability to have a steel drum. Now, what I'm probably going to do is take our bassline pattern, control, click, and hold, and drag that into our steel drum. And let's go ahead and color this. It's already kind of a fun tropical color, but we'll just kind of go like that. Let's get these chord templates out of the way. I shift clicked on both. Sorry guys, too much pirate drinking. And I'm gonna move that up there, get our templates out of the way. Cool. So we might need to lower our steel drum here, so let's just go ahead and crank down the volume just a little. Okay, you can see that and hear that sounds absolutely insane, which is okay. What we're gonna do is we're going to take our remember, we have always our kind of copy of our template, which is nice. Control A, which selects all. That's all it does, is selects every note. Shift up. Starting to sound like a steel drum a little. Cool. Now we're kind of in the realm of where steel drums sort of sit, and we can begin to experiment with a lead sound. Probably what I would do here is begin to think about a steel drum. You know, typically a steel drum is played by a human, believe it or not, with two hands, and therefore you pretty much have two notes either playing sort of as a chord, if you will, or that, you know, to the best of your ability, what you can make as a chord with two mallets, one in each hand on a steel drum, or sort of what you're seeing here with this pattern, which is sort of an arpeggiated, treated more like a drum, where it's being hit on different notes. So from here, it's just all about, for me, experimentation. I might, just looking at this and thinking about music, maybe something like that at first. I actually really liked that, what I just heard, but double hit on the upbeat and then an E single hit on the downbeat, or maybe even a double hit like that. We'll have to see. Let's see here. Let's go into here and let's see if we can mess with the decay. Steel drums can be a little tricky, I think, so let's mess with the decay. I'm not going to go crazy having you watch me endlessly tweak the volume envelope of Simpler. It's just not worth it because right now I'm not in my studio, and for now I think that this sounds fine, and there's just no need for you to watch me turn these knobs when you can do that yourself, because there is no magic formula. You just need to listen to the track, listen to what you're doing, and think about where you're going for, what you're going for anyway. So, and from there, now that I have a general sound of what I want, it's just all about experimenting with the note placement. I might do something like that, actually, where we go. One 1/16 already. Maybe just do a real tiny hit. And Usually I like to stagger the notes a little. Well, I'm just a mess today, huh? I woke up to the sunrise and a bunch of Hemingway cats and pirates in my backyard. So that's an option. I also kind of hear, because the bass line is very busy, and what I mean by that is like staccato, like, sharp, quick notes, which kind of gives it a funky driving nature. What I might experiment with is just kind of doing what a lot of times like Big Room and EDM does, which is make a hit right on the one. So as the bar comes in, or as the beat comes in, it's just something more like that. Now, of course, not on every single repeat. It's just on a loop right now, so it sounds goofy. But if we did something like that, let's go ahead and separate the region, Control E. Now it'll kind of have room. Oh. Yeah, I mean, it's experimenting. I'm not really in love with that either, but endless tweaking, it's basically the same as your bass line. You're just kind of looking. That could be okay. Let's just see for the fun of it what happens if we were to pretend we had two people playing the steel drum. That might be a little too high, in which case what I might do is maybe make something, maybe just the three notes again. Maybe even something like that. I mean, it's tweaking, it's having fun, and seeing what works. That could be cool. I'm happy with that. I think that's cool. I think it's funky. I think it'd sound cool at a pool party. And it really brings out the musicality of the steel drum. Sometimes if it's just a hit of all the notes hitting at once, I've had people not really know it's a steel drum if they're not very familiar with kind of Caribbean music or really thinking in that tropical mindset. They kind of think it's sort of a I've had some people say it sounds like kind of like a Chinese sort of driven plinko piano sound or something. So I always remembered that, and it kind of upset me. So I try to keep the musicality of the steel drum so people get that tropical kind of pineapple vibe. Yep, happy with that. We don't have to overthink it, and it's not that you settle, it's just that we're not going to get caught in a rut when we only have 30 days to make a track. You know what I mean, guys? So, before I leave this video, I'd like to just talk to you about something else that I use that's a great resource, and it's LoopCloud. I have gotten a lot of steel drum samples from LoopCloud, although not all of them. I think a lot of my steel drums also have come from Logic from back in the day when I used Logic. The good old ESX24 has a nice steel drum sound. But this is a great resource. For $8 a month, you're getting a killer resource of samples that are great for drums, leads, bass lines, vocals. I mean, if you can part with $8 a month, at least temporarily, I don't necessarily know if I would be like me and allow your credits to stack up to almost 300. Get what you need and use it. You don't need to have 300 samples floating around because that creates the rut that I've been talking about. So shame on me, but at the same time, there's no reason, especially nowadays, to go without. Jump on LoopCloud or Splice or whoever you like, really, and sign up for a membership. Get yourself, 5 or 6 kick drums that you really like that seem relevant to the kind of music you're making, because that's the thing too. It's really important to separate the difference between what you like or what you think you like, what sounds good alone when you're just surfing the web, and what will actually work in the context of the music you're creating. And one thing I can say is that I was always shocked. I always went for a super punchy, aggressive kick, but then when I would go to compare my tracks to others, especially when making house music, I realized my kicks were way, way, way too aggressive. Way too aggressive. Um, a lot of house producers that I was listening to were just simply using softer kicks. So you have to be careful the way that your minds filter colors sounds and the way your ears hear sounds. Of course, a punchy kick is going to sound impressive on its own. Does it fit in the context of deep house or tech house or techno? You know, you might love the subbiness of a techno kick, but does it really work if you're trying to make 140 beats per minute driving trance music where at that speed a super long 808 subby style kick is just going to weigh the track down. Something to keep in mind. I'm going to cut this video off and tell you a story in the next one that's really relevant to all this.